Hello and welcome to Critigri Talk Stories. You might be wondering, who the heck am I? What the heck do I do? I mean, maybe it's pretty self-evident from the title, but I talk about stories. This is a alternate channel dedicated to my reviews, and I don't really like calling them reviews because it feels too official. It feels like I've got a specific set of criteria, and does this story meet these criteria, and what rating am I going to give it? And it's more casual than that. It's more like, I read a book, I watched a show, I watched a movie, I read a graphic novel, and this is what I thought about it. All of these kinds of videos used to go on my main channel, but I realized that my main channel was kind of split up into two kinds of videos which didn't have much crossover in audience, and that was gameplay videos and review videos. So the main channel is now purely for gameplay videos, and this channel is now purely for review videos. Out of the different types of stories I will be reviewing, I'll be honest, it's probably going to be mostly books. I barely watch movies, I don't watch all that many shows, but in terms of show watching, a major part of this channel is going to be Doctor Who, and there will be anime as well on here. I do want to make that apparent. I'm not just going to be a flat-out booktuber, but yes, this channel is going to be pretty booktuber coded. And so I feel like I should introduce myself and give a kind of overview of the kinds of stories I like, the kinds of stories I will be reviewing on the channel. I think it's fair to say speculative fiction, by which I mean sci-fi and fantasy mostly. Some of my favourite book series include Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm currently rereading, The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Cirque du Freak is a young adult fantasy series. Well, it's marketed as a horror series, but it's kind of more dark fantasy in my eyes. But that's one that I grew up with, which greatly informed my tastes. And I'm currently reading through the Sun Eater series, which is exactly the flavour of science fiction I was looking for. But that doesn't mean I want to limit myself to speculative fiction. Like, I want to read some Stephen King, not just the speculative fiction side of him, but his horrors, his thrillers. I guess that's also just speculative okay, never mind. One thing I do want to get into sometime in the future is start reading some autobiographies of people that I'm interested in. And I don't know what it's like reviewing an autobiography. That's like saying, how was your life? Was it a 5 out of 5? Well, not quite, but that's the bit. But I still consider that stories. Non-fiction can still be stories, in a sense. But in terms of shows I like watching and stuff like that, I watch a lot of the kind of, I guess what you would call geek culture shows, if we still use that term. So you'll find Star Wars and MCU based shows in my interests. Currently Daredevil Born Again is airing and I'm loving that. I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. I watched through Star Trek the original series a few years ago and had a great time doing that, so I've been slowly working my way through Next Generation. In terms of anime, the first anime I ever watched was Bleach. I grew up with it. I'm also a huge Naruto fan. I loved Attack on Titan. I really enjoyed what I've seen of My Hero Academia, so I'm very much a shonen boy. It's also worth mentioning I have an interest in franchise fiction, so like books which take existing universes and either adapt them or expand upon them. So for instance, Doctor Who novels and Doctor Who novelizations, I'll be interested in checking out those. Various Star Wars books I own, World of Warcraft novels. I've currently got the novelization of Assassin's Creed 2 sitting staring at me, wondering why I haven't read it after owning it for a year. And as far as graphic novels go, I'm still very much exploring the DC and Marvel universes. I'm actually still grappling with how to make videos around them. Like, at what point do I quantify I read this? Do I do it by trade paperback volume? Do I do it by a particular run, by a particular combo of artist and writer? However, it is worth mentioning that I own the entire, or not the entire because they did weird premium different subscriptions or whatever, but I own a lot of the Eagle Moss collection of The Legend of Batman, and I've been meaning to make a full-on video series about that for a very long time, so that could be something I explore here as well. And yeah, I'm really not that big of a movie guy. I do have a series called Not Quite Opening Night where I plan to watch a bunch of, I can't believe you haven't seen this yet kind of movies. I've done Alien and I've done Planet of the Apes so far. I used to do a podcast with my friend Reese called Pictures Without Pictures that we'd like to get back to, which is very much a similar concept, but we both watched the movie and we talk about it together, so there's also a chance that we'll be doing that. That will be over on a channel called Dimension Jam, however. Haven't quite figured out the difference between what goes on Not Quite Opening Night and what goes on a future run of Pictures Without Pictures yet. We'll figure it out in the future, but that's just something to consider. As for who I am, hi, now that we've got my tastes out of the way and you're going, oh god, he's a basic bitch. Hi, my name is Christian. I go by Critigri or Booty Tremors or Doofus, depending on who you ask. As of the time of recording, I am 29 years old. I am a writer, nothing published yet, but I write short stories, I write poetry, I might write longer stories one day, we'll see. I have undiagnosed ADHD, which is why you might perceive my interests are all over the goddamn place and I read like 5 things at once. I love video games, I love reading, I love making YouTube videos. I do all of this for a hobby and have done pretty much my entire life, I suppose. I mean, I've been doing YouTube since I was 13, and it would be wonderful if I were to get lucky with the algorithm or whatever, and people would find my videos and like them, and that's partially why I've created this channel as a separate thing from my main channel. It's to give both channels more of an identity that hopefully the algorithm can pick at. We must appease the algorithmic gods. Although, if I'm being honest, the main reason is because I think it's nicer for viewers to be able to go, I want this half of a channel, and not be absolutely bombarded with videos from the other half of a channel that I couldn't give 2 shits about. But yes, if I find success, wonderful. If not, we'll continue on all the same. You need only check my main channel and my as yet unbroken 359 consecutive week series to get a handle on that. Other fun facts about me: I'm bi, I'm agnostic-leaning atheist, I try to be kind, I try to be funny. I'm not sure you're supposed to admit when you try to be funny, but whatever, cat's out of a bag now. Most of my reviews are just the kind of podcast videos in that it's all audio-based and there's not really any visuals. That's mostly because, as I stated, this is a hobby. I do have a real-life job, and I have to limit the amount of effort I put into videos, I suppose. Also, I'm not big on the whole face-to-camera thing. I know it would drive engagement and viewership, but it's just not something I'm all that comfortable with. And like I said, I do this for fun. So that's that. You don't really need my whole life story. If you are completely unfamiliar with who I am, again, I do have a main channel you can go and check out. I have a Blue Sky at Critigri. I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the content. Currently, I suppose what's on the slate of upcoming things I should mention, I'm currently doing a reread of Mistborn going into Era 2, which I've never read, via audio book. I also like to have a physical book I'm reading, which is currently Ship of Destiny, the 3rd book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is the 2nd trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings series, and digital ebook I also like to have on the go. I know, I'm a mess. That's where my read-through of Sun Eater is, and currently I'm reading through Tales of a Sun Eater Volume 1, which is not a long book, but is a collection of short stories, and I always find those hard to get through quickly, because, I don't know, you kind of got to let each short story sit for a while, right? And there's nothing really drawing you back to the next one. You kind of got to remember that it's a thing you're doing, that you're reading through a collection, at least in my brain. Graphic novels wise, I'm all over the place right now. That's not even worth quantifying, although I guess it's worth mentioning I'm currently reading through the 3rd volume of Daredevil, or like the 2011 run, or however we want to put that, as well as checking out The Flash. I'm not going to quantify it. We'll be here all day. There's loads of them. Currently watching through Daredevil Born Again as it airs. I will make a video about that at the end of a season. I would love to do thoughts per episode every week on that, but unfortunately it airs on Wednesdays, which is smack, what is that saying? It's right in the middle of my working week, so it doesn't really work out for me, unfortunately. Doctor Who is back in April though, so you can expect some videos on that. I'm also supposed to be watching through classic Doctor Who. I'm like 2 episodes into the 2nd Doctor's first serial, and I'm just wondering if I should skip to the 3rd Doctor, because it took me a long time. It took me like 3 years to get through the 1st Doctor's run. It's just because it's really old telly. It's interesting, but it's not necessarily interesting enough to keep me hooked. But yeah, that's about where we're at. That's who I am. That's what's coming up. That's what I like. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. Subscribe for future reviews, and I want to do kind of, you know, more fun topical style videos of my TBR and the history of what I've read in a little bit more detail, and like looks at upcoming stories or series and thoughts about them. You know, stuff like that could be fun. Anyway, I've yet to make an outro card or think of an appropriate one, but I will catch you in whatever I make next.